The Union Budget 21-22 has made significant regulatory pronouncements with regard to financial services sector. The major ones being the hike in the FDI limit into insurance sector by way of amendment of the Insurance Act. The FDI limit is now increased to 74% from current 49%, a very welcome step. The second important announcement is the creation of an environment for the resolution of bad and stress assets. The law would now permit creation of the asset reconstruction companies and asset managers to acquire these stress assets and resolve it expeditiously. So again, this would certainly help in terms of resolving the bad assets and stress asset scenario in the country. The third important announcement is a creation of Unified Securities Market Code, a very significant announcement, and this would be promulgated by way of consolidation of the SEBI Act, the SCRA Act and some of the Allied Securities Act. One would need to wait and watch the impact of the unification of the securities code and what are the implications on the securities market, but all in all looks to be quite positive and a step in the right direction. So far as tax proposals are concerned for the financial services sector, those are there are several key ones. The first one being the withholding tax which was applicable for any payment on income of securities to the financial investors, FPIs. The Supreme Court in case of Pilcom had held that in case the withholding tax rate is prescribed in the Income Tax Act, then the payer is not able to apply a lower withholding tax rate as prescribed in the tax treaty where the financial investor belongs to or is located into. The Act has now been amended to provide that in case of payment to FPIs, the lower withholding tax rate as per the tax treaty can be now applied. In earlier situation, the payer would have deducted tax at the rate of 20% and the FPI would have actually had to file the tax return to claim a tax refund for the difference. Now that situation goes away and the lower withholding tax rate can be applied by the payer itself. It is a very welcome move. It will certainly help the FPIs to get their income by claiming appropriate withholding tax rate under the tax treaty. The second important change which is made is concerning the sovereign wealth funds and pension funds who are investing into India and Indian infrastructure. There are several conditions which are attached for them to claim tax benefit on capital gains, interest income, etc. From the infrastructure sector in India. Several of those conditions are now relaxed. Notable among them is the permissibility of investment into the AIFs, where AIF would need to now invest only up to 50% of the corpus into such infrastructure companies instead of 100% earlier. Similarly, these investments can be made also into holding companies into India, which in turn would invest at least 75% into infrastructure companies. And third is the investment into NBFCs in India, where again NBFCs would need to lend up to 90% to such sectors in India. So these were not permissible sectors earlier. Now these are permissible investments for sovereign wealth funds and pension funds to claim tax exemption. I think this was a demand and representation made by the funds to the government and which has now been positively considered. This will certainly help in terms of much larger flow from the sovereign wealth funds and pension funds into the country. The next set of proposals are pertaining to the GIFT City, the International Financial Service Center, and a very welcome move where the tax exemptions have been granted for relocating of the fund from the overseas jurisdiction into the GIFT City. Now those exemptions are given to the funds as well as to the shareholders, a very welcome move. It will certainly promote the GIFT City as a jurisdiction for basing the funds and relocating the funds from the overseas jurisdictions into India. Similarly, the aircraft leasing income paid by a unit which is located into GIFT City to a non-resident, again that has been completely made tax exempt, and this would certainly promote those units to undertake those activities in the GIFT City. Similarly, the normal private equity fund which is located into GIFT City and satisfying conditions under Section 9A of the Income Tax Act would be tax exempt. The conditions which are under Section 9A were quite onerous, and again government has provided for powers to relax those conditions for the funds which are located in GIFT City, and to claim exemption under Section 9A being the management of the overseas fund being done in India and not liable for tax under a permanent establishment or POEM exposure into the country. So those were the amendments relating to the GIFT City, and again it would certainly help the GIFT City to have enhanced level of activities and promote the location or relocation of the funds into the GIFT City. The last set of amendments are pertaining to REITs and InvITs. The payment of dividend to REIT and InvIT currently attracted withholding tax, which was in a way a mistake in the law because that resulted into tax leakage of withholding tax of 10%. The act is now amended where the dividend payment is now made tax exempt from withholding tax. This would certainly help in terms of the cash flow to the REITs and InvITs, and in turn further to the investors into REITs and InvITs. So it will certainly boost the cash flows for the investors into the REIT and InvIT, and all in all it will help in the furtherance of establishment of this trust into the country. Similarly, the REITs and InvITs are now permitted to raise finances through debt instruments. We'll have to watch for the fine prints in terms of what are the instruments which are permitted. But again, it would certainly help enhancing cash flow and the funds requirement of the REITs and InvITs for making investments in India. So all in all, on a tax and regulatory front, several positive developments for the financial services sector. It would certainly help boost the investments into this sector. Thank you.